On this episode of Left Off the Map, Henry Terry is spending some time with neuroscientist Leela Landowski. I'm cooking on a fireplace at Eagle's Nest Retreat just outside of Sheffield on the northwest coast of Tasmania, which is where we'll start today's episode, cooking a pasta with the flavours of chorizo. This is one of the many bedrooms here at Eagle's Nest Retreat. We're in Nest 2. There's 3 nests all up, and this is nest number 2. There's 4 bedrooms in this one. It's got a wonderful outlook of Mount Roland and the water, which you can see from this bedroom. But the reason I decided to cook inside is because we've got this fire next to a bath, next to a bed. So I wanted to show that off. I thought the best way to do that was to cook in here. I'm making fresh chorizo. When we're in Mexico, you very rarely found the cured chorizo or the Spanish chorizo. You normally found fresh chorizo. And I thought it was much nicer than the cured chorizo. So I'm going to show you how you can make your own at home. So you're going to need some pork belly. The reason you need pork belly is because it's got lots of pork fat on it. So sausages or chorizo is made up with quite a high fat content, and you'll get that naturally from pork belly. So if you just get spare ribs, chop them into little sort of lardons or cubes, and you're good to go. And then you just need a food processor. I'm going to pop in I had 4 spare ribs here that I just chopped into little cubes. And then in with that, I want some salt. A pinch of salt. I've got 2 different spice mixes here. So I've got a chili spice mix and a taco spice mix. So give that, pop in a couple of tablespoons of that. Then I need a shallot and some garlic. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic. Put that in. And then my shallots, which I'll just roughly chop. They're going to be minced up anyway, but I'll just help the food processor out a little bit and top and tail them. Pop them in half, pop them in. And that is basically my chorizo mix. So fire this up. And there you have a coarse minced mixture. So that is the basis of our chorizo mixture. So if we were to put that into a sausage casing, you would end up with chorizo, which you could cook off in sausages. But we're going to use that base mixture to cook off and then make a fresh chorizo pasta. It smells awesome. And it's the best part of pork, which is the belly, minced up so much that it becomes tender enough, good for a long time, with spices through it. So how could that not be awesome? Got a pan here. And there's so much natural fat in the pork belly that I don't need to add any oil to it. It'll just render out as we go along. So we'll pop our minced mixture in there. And I'm going to pop this pan directly onto the heat and just cook that out. And then while that's cooking, I've probably got 10 minutes. I'll do a little reset here, get my pasta in. And then once it's finished, we'll pop some cooked pasta in there. Might see what else I've got floating about to throw in there as well. My pork is about halfway cooked. I've rendered out some of the fat. So now I'm going to pop in, just went and had a look in our fridge to see what we had. We had a capsicum, we had some heirloom tomatoes and some spring onions. So that's what I'm going to use. Go on there and cook. I love the smell of charred spring onions. So I'm more than happy to pop those on there. It's good to actually, like the spring onion tops and things like that, if you do want to dampen down the heat when you're cooking on the coals. So this was getting a touch hot, which is why I've taken it off. I've got some charred bits in there. Just throw something like that, whatever the fresh ingredients are you're using, throw that on top and it'll sort of dampen down the heat when you put your pan back on. My capsicum, take a couple of cheeks off and then reasonable. I don't want this too fine, so sort of 1 centimetre dice or rough chop of our capsicum. And a tomato, which I'm just going to de-seed. So top and tail. Heirloom tomatoes are normally a little bit harder to de-seed than a regular tomato, just because it's sort of the structure's a little bit different inside. But if you top and tail it, you'll be able to take that outside piece of flesh off. And that's what we'll dice up and pop in. So all this will go in, we'll cook this down for another 5 minutes, and then we can pop our pasta in and sort of heat that through. I'm also going to add a little bit more of the spice mix in there now. Put this in. Jesus, smells good though. I actually quite like those little burnt bits, they smell awesome. And then a little bit more of that spice mix. All right, that can go back on. Cooking away again for 5 more minutes, and then I'll grab my pasta. It's been cooking away for another 5 minutes, so I can take that off. Pop my pasta in now. Fusilli's a good one for this. The shape of fusilli. So that's just cooked pasta. We've cooked to just under the packet instructions, so to al dente, and then washed off the starch from the outside, put a little bit of olive oil on it. Keeps awesome in the fridge, and you can just add it to dishes like this when you need to. Mix that through. And then back onto the heat for 2 more minutes is probably all it needs now. You're just trying to heat the pasta through. Remember, the pasta's cooked, so we're just trying to get it nice and warm. And that is done. Salt. I really love salt. Right, back on the heat. Couple more minutes and that'll be ready to go. Now let's join Henry Terry and Lita Lendowski as they visit Emu Valley Rhododendron Gardens.
Okay, so we're going to Emu Valley Rhododendron Garden. So I hear this place has over 20,000 rhododendron flowers.
Like 20,000 different kinds of rhododendrons?
I think 20,000 plants.
What?
But it's a lot of plants.
That's like more than the population of this part of town, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. Well and truly, but that sounds like a pretty colourful place. Hi, how you going?
Hi, good, thank you.
Neat, isn't it?
Neat.
I'm Henry.
Hi.
And this is Lita.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
You too. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Tell us about this place. It's absolutely spectacular.
Well, you're here at Emu Valley Rhododendron Gardens. It is 11 hectares of rhododendrons, conifers, maples, everything that you can imagine all thrown into one spot.
Incredible.
Yep.
And it's huge. Are you managing this by yourself?
No, I'm only the horticulturalist. We've got an awesome team of volunteers, and that's what this is all about. Volunteers have owned it and run it since 1981. It's just become what it is today, and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Amazing. We couldn't help but notice. So we're standing in Japan right now, and there's different parts of the world you've got signposted all over the property.
Yes.
What's the go? Is it different plants from different areas?
That's right. 16 countries we've got here. So at the moment you're in Japan, we've got China, Taiwan, Sichuan, Nepal, and so on. So everything that comes from those countries are endemic and are here.
I'm pretty keen for a look around, Nate. Can we just wander around the paths? Is that the best thing to do?
Yep, go for a wander and I will come and find you shortly.
Sounds great. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Nate.
Hey guys, how did you go?
Hey, it was amazing. I can't believe that all of this is basically a product of the community getting together and making it the way it
It
is.
sure is. Did you find a nice spot down there?
Yes, and we found flavourful.
We did find a
Oh,
platypus.
excellent. I'm glad that he was showing off for you today.
Yeah, it was good. It was absolutely spectacular. What I noticed was just how serene's the word. Like, you got this big hill and there's just no wind and perfectly still. Just amazing.
Hidden gem.
Yeah.
It really is a hidden gem.
Incredible, yeah. Thanks very much for having us.
Thank you for coming. This is our Devonshire tea that our volunteers make.
Beautiful.
drooling.
Homemade, so please enjoy.
Oh, I'm so excited for these.
Where do we start?
I thought it was amazing that the Rhododendron Park was all volunteer. Like, a volunteer run. That place is magical.
It's interesting to think that a flower garden is like the lifeblood of the community in that area.
Incredible.
And to think that we didn't know it existed. And it's so many people are involved in the process.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to head to Hiscott's Park now.
Okay. What's at Hiscott's Park?
Dinner.
Sounds magnificent.
After a big day of exploring the town and surrounds of Ulverstone, it's time for Henry and Leela to relax and wrap up their adventure at Hiscott Park. Located in the seaside town of Penguin, Hiscott Park is a popular picnic spot, known for its scenic location by the river, Dutch windmill and friendly ducks.
We're here. Well, let's get started. I've got a few jobs for you, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
I would like you to smash up a bit of star anise.
All right. How finely smashed do you want your star
Well,
anise?
I'll let you judge. Just feel it out. If you can get started on that, I'm going to chop some herbs and chop some lemon. So this is a really, really simple dish. We'll have this on the Oz Pig in no time.
Great.
So what we're going for here is just a really fresh, herby flavour to go with that nice, fresh rainbow trout. So thyme, dill, parsley, lemon, just a beautiful combination. And the aniseedy flavour at the end is sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It's
It's
just,
going to be a bit like a party in our mouth.
absolutely. Could you please really stuff this fish full of these beautiful fresh herbs? So a bit of garlic to go in as well. Roughly chopped. Don't need to overcomplicate it too much. Just add a bit more flavour to that fish.
Oh,
Beautiful.
gorgeous.
So,
Just as is?
yep,
Yep.
straight in. We're going to really pack it out. It's only a
Yeah.
small little fish, isn't it?
It is going to be so good.
Beautiful. Okay. We still need to fit a bit of lemon in. Place those in there. So that's the stuffing done. All we need to do, what I like to do, is score the meat of the trout, just a little bit. And this is where the star anise comes in. Get a bit of that dust, give it a sprinkle, and then if we can get a bit of that dust in between the those cuts, really just, it's subtle.
Wow, that's such a good idea. I've never seen that done before.
Okay, the only thing left to do is a bit of a marinade. So again, we want to get that herb flavour through the fish. So we're going to attack it from the outside as well as the inside. I've got some olive oil, so a bit of dill and some lemon juice.
This is a pretty beautiful park.
That's amazing.
Oh, ducks everywhere.
Plenty of wildlife. I think I saw some baby ducks with its mother before following it along. Okay, herb mayo done. Fish ready to go. this should be full of flavour. So let's get it on the Oz pick.
Fantastic. Can't wait to try it.
So Leela, 5 minutes either side, should be cooked and ready to go.
Fantastic.
Get a bit of that charcoal flavour through it. Ooh, I'm excited.
Can't wait.
Well, what a good spot to finish off the day.
Yep, good as any.
Beautiful. We've packed quite a bit into today.
It's been quite an adventure.
Yeah. The rhododendron garden and obviously a beautiful spot to finish off at Hiscott's Park.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been amazing.
Thanks for taking me.
Now let's head back to the fireplace at Eagle's Nest Retreat. To cook a good steak, you need a few things. One, you need a really, really, really hot surface, which I'm going to get because we're cooking directly over those blaring orange coals. You need good steak and you need it to be well seasoned. So I've got eye fillet, which is obviously a good steak. I'm going to put together a bit of a dry, well, you can make this a dry rub or a wet rub. It's completely up to you. You could pour your oil into there and then brush it on if you wanted to. I'm going to sprinkle some of our chili spice mix to make more of a dry rub and then add more oil to that. A little bit of salt as well. One side, pop on the other side. More salt. Just going to let that sit there and let the salt and the dry rub do its thing for about half an hour. I'll let these steaks come up to room temperature. And then a little bit of oil on my steak, get my pan on the charcoal and get it nice and hot, and then steaks go directly into the pan. It's only going to take about 4 to 5 minutes to cook. We'll end up with a really nice crust. It's important though to make sure your steaks are at room temperature, because if they're cold inside because of being in the fridge, then it's going to take a lot longer for the centre of the steak to come up to temperature around 45 to 50 degrees, and by then you'll have burnt the outside of your steak. So you need them to be at room temperature. So get them out half an hour before you're going to cook them, sit them in a warm place. So the difference between a dry rub and a wet rub is basically one's dry and one's wet, which is pretty self-explanatory. But what we're doing with the dry rub is we're trying to extract moisture out of the meat. So the salts that are in the dry rub and also the salt that I'm putting on top will start to draw moisture out of the meat. That drawing of water out of the meat intensifies the flavour. So a dry rub will give you a drier piece of meat to cook, which in turn leads to better flavour. A wet rub is basically a marinade on the outside, and you're creating a bit of a sauce or a marinade for that meat to sit in, so it's going to tenderise it a little bit more. So they've been sitting for a while. I can pop some oil on top now. Both sides. Then I can get my pan on. Now it won't take long for that pan to heat up just because of how hot those coals are going to be. And you don't want to overcrowd your pan, so I'm going to cook these steaks one at a time, maximum 2 at a time in a pan like that, but I'll do these one at a time. That way you're not dropping a huge amount of heat out of your pan when you put your steaks in, you're keeping it at that nice high temperature. So you can see the oil or the steel which has been seasoned You can see that smoking already. That's what we want. So we'll get one of these in. Now we know that we haven't dropped a huge amount of heat out of that. I can put another one in. So that'll be about 4 to 5 minutes. 3 minutes on one side, 2 minutes on the other, or you keep turning them. All right, that one is done. That can come out. I think the reason why people like a good steak is because it's just that simple. You rely pretty much entirely on the protein itself. You can add salts and spices to the outside, but it's basically the flavour of the meat that you're going to derive most of your enjoyment from. So that is my favourite way to cook a steak. Nice hot pan, a dry rub, salt, a little bit of oil, and that's it.